Step into the neon-lit world of Miami Vice, the legendary 1984-1989 crime drama that defined a generation with its fast cars, flashy suits, and unforgettable soundtrack. Everyone remembers the iconic duo Crockett and Tubbs and the glamorous yet dangerous Miami nightlife, but what happened to the cast after the series ended? In 2025, some stars are still lighting up Hollywood, others quietly disappeared from the spotlight, and a few took career paths nobody could have imagined. From shocking transformations to behind-the-scenes stories, join us as we uncover where your favorite actors are now. Nostalgia, surprises, and jaw-dropping revelations await every fan. Julio Oscar Mechoso was born on May 31, 1955, and played Lester Costco in 1984 at age 29. Lester Costco, the sharp yet understated tech expert on Miami Vice, was a supporting figure, but Mechoso's portrayal added a gritty, believable undercurrent of tension to the show's criminal investigations, masking the dark complexity of the man behind the role. Born in Cuba and raised in the tough neighborhoods of Miami, Julio's childhood was a relentless struggle against abandonment, cultural dislocation, and emotional neglect. As his father deserted the family and his mother, overwhelmed by poverty, could offer little protection. From an early age, he learned to hide his rage and insecurities beneath a veneer of charm and wit, a pattern that would both fuel his performances and isolate him socially. Professionally, Mechoso fought a continuous uphill battle. Though he shared the screen with stars such as Al Pacino and Andy Garcia, he was repeatedly typecast as the ethnic sidekick roles that diminished his range and frustrated his ambitions. He became notorious for meticulous perfectionism, often rewriting scripts clashing with directors and alienating colleagues who found him intense or unyielding. His work on the controversial film Ken Park marked a particularly dark period during which public backlash, private anxiety, and intense scrutiny led him to spiral into depression and exacerbate his struggles with alcohol. His marriage suffered under the strain of long periods of travel and emotional withdrawal, and he frequently battled periods of deep isolation despite a prolific career. Financially, despite decades of work in television and film, his estate was surprisingly modest, valued under $500,000 at the time of his death on November 25, 2017, from a sudden heart attack in Burbank at age 62. His legacy, though marked by undeniable talent and dedication, remains clouded by unrealized potential and the persistent shadow of a life lived on the edges of acclaim and obscurity. Ned Eisenberg was born on January 13, 1957, and played Federico Librizzi in 1985 at age 28. His character, a calculating, smooth-talking mob lawyer, was a minor yet unforgettable presence in Miami Vice, symbolizing the cold, insidious corruption that pervaded Miami's criminal underworld. Eisenberg's portrayal was unnervingly precise, each gesture and inflection deliberate, reflecting an obsessive approach to performance that often blurred the line between character and actor. Born in the Bronx, his childhood was marked by poverty and emotional neglect. His father, a garment worker, died prematurely, and his mother battled severe depression, leaving young Ned to navigate a world of instability and scarce affection. He buried himself in theater, achieving recognition for intense, meticulous performances, yet the industry consistently rejected him, branding him too intense or unmarketable. His career was a series of highs and lows. He was dropped from a major Broadway revival after clashing violently with the director, an event that effectively blacklisted him for several years, while small screen work never fully compensated for the loss of stage credibility. Colleagues whispered about his stubborn temperament, manipulative tactics to secure roles, and occasional explosive behavior during rehearsals, all of which contributed to a reputation as difficult to work with. Despite these challenges, he maintained a discreet personal life. His marriage to actress Patricia Dunnock was stable but childless, and he reportedly struggled privately with bouts of depression and obsessive perfectionism. Eisenberg also faced a relentless health battle, privately contending with cholangiocarcinoma and ocular melanoma illnesses he concealed until the end. He died on February 27, 2022 in Queens, New York at age 65, leaving behind a meticulously managed estate worth approximately $500,000, primarily from residual royalties and a Manhattan apartment. His legacy endures as one of raw talent, unwavering dedication, and quiet suffering. A man who never courted fame, but whose work left an indelible mark on stage and screen, embodying the tension between brilliance and personal sacrifice that defined his life. Gregory Sierra was born on January 25, 1937, and played Lieutenant Lou Rodriguez in 1984 at age 47. Rodriguez, the original commanding officer in Miami Vice, was a stern, morally driven figure whose brief tenure set the stage for the series' depiction of law enforcement under pressure, but Sierra's own life mirrored the tension, instability, and unflinching realism of his character. Raised in Spanish Harlem by an aunt after his parents abandoned him, his formative years were steeped in poverty, street violence, and emotional deprivation, which instilled in him a hardened resilience and a complex view of authority and justice. Seeking escape, he joined the Air Force, where he honed discipline and adaptability before stumbling into acting almost by accident. Despite prominent roles in series like Barney Miller and Sanford, and Son Sierra gained a reputation in Hollywood as notoriously difficult. He frequently walked off sets, refused direction, and openly clashed with producers and co-stars, often due to principled stands or an inability to tolerate environments he deemed corrupt or unsafe. His personal life was marked by profound tragedy and instability. The suicide of his wife, Susan Pollock, in 1978 cast a long shadow over his subsequent relationships and fueled chronic depression that permeated both his private and professional life. Health struggles, including stomach and liver cancer, combined with a general withdrawal from the industry, made his later years a period of quiet reflection and isolation. He died on January 4, 2021 in Laguna Woods, California, at age 83, leaving an estate of modest real estate and residuals valued at around $1.2 million. Sierra's legacy is a complicated blend of undeniable talent, uncompromising principles, personal loss, and the harsh realities of Hollywood, rendering his story both inspiring and tinged with the melancholy of what might have been. Dennis Farina was born on February 29, 1944, and portrayed Albert Lombard in 1984 at age 40. Lombard, a charming yet ruthless mob boss, became one of Miami Vice's most compelling villains, in no small part due to Farina's own complex past. Growing up in a working-class Italian-American family in Chicago, he was immersed in neighborhoods rife with gambling violence and whispered mob connections which shaped his streetwise persona and hardened moral code. Before his acting career, he spent years as a Chicago police officer, where his reputation alternated between respect for his effectiveness and whispered accusations of brutality and turning a blind eye to organized crime. Farina's transition to Hollywood brought authenticity, but also amplified his demons. He developed a reputation for heavy drinking on-set confrontations and unpredictable outbursts, which often strained relationships with colleagues. A 2008 arrest at LAX for carrying a loaded, unregistered firearm spotlighted the recklessness that had long shadowed him, illustrating a personal disregard for rules that echoed the dangerous characters he often played. His private life was tumultuous. A bitter divorce from Patricia Farina, estrangement from one son, and intermittent romantic flings marked his years, and friends reported periods of isolation and simmering frustration over typecasting. Farina's health declined, leading to a pulmonary embolism that caused his death on July 22, 2013, in Scottsdale, Arizona, at age 69. Despite the chaos of his personal life, he amassed a net worth estimated at $8 million, a testament to decades of work across television and film, including iconic roles on Law and Order. Farina's life blurred the boundaries between law enforcement and criminality, and his legacy remains that of a charismatic, complex figure whose presence on screen was inseparable from the shadows of his own history, leaving an impression that continues to fascinate audiences and industry insiders alike. Miguel Ferrer was born on February 7, 1955, and played the role of a district attorney in Miami Vice in 1987 at the age of 32. His character, icy and calculating, became a chilling embodiment of the legal machinery's indifference, creating a stark foil to the raw emotion of Crockett and Tubbs. Though his on-screen presence was brief, Ferrer brought a magnetic tension, hinting at the darkness simmering beneath his own life. Born into Hollywood royalty, as the son of Jose Ferrer and Rosemary Clooney Miguel's childhood was paradoxically far from idyllic, constantly overshadowed by towering family legacies, he faced mockery for his awkward mannerisms and introverted tendencies. This early emotional repression bled into his adult life, shaping a man as sharp-tongued as he was talented. His career was punctuated by near misses and controversial moments. He was rejected for major roles for being too intense, and once stormed off a set following a heated altercation with a director. Ferrer developed a reputation for biting sarcasm and unpredictability. A producer once called him a genius with a grenade in his pocket. The apex of his professional heartbreak came when he was unexpectedly dropped from a high-profile voice role in Batman, the animated series, over rumored backstage power struggles and ego conflicts. Personal life mirrored professional turbulence, 2 divorces, a fraught relationship with his children, and a bitter long-term feud with his brother Raphael over family estates painted a portrait of private discord. Despite a diagnosis of throat cancer, Ferrer continued to work relentlessly, refusing to let illness dictate his productivity or public persona. He died on January 19, 2017, in Santa Monica, California, at age 61. His estate, which included royalties from Twin Peaks Iron Man 3 and voice work in Mulan, was valued around $4 million, cementing a legacy entwined with both artistic brilliance and private strife, a life where the glow of Hollywood never fully masked the shadows within. Don Johnson was born on December 15, 1949, and played Detective James Crockett in Miami Vice in 1984 at the age of 34. Crockett was the epitome of 1980s cool Armani suits, speedboats, and even a pet alligator named Elvis, but Johnson's real life was a far darker, more turbulent tale than the sleek image projected on screen. Raised in poverty in Missouri, he endured abuse and neglect, spent time in juvenile court at 13, and grew up under the shadow of an emotionally distant father. His early career was marred by repeated failures, including 4 failed television pilots and a reputation for being unreliable, while trauma from the 1976 murder of his roommate actor Sal Mineo haunted him for decades. On set, Johnson's volatility was legendary. He demanded script rewrites, clashed repeatedly with co-stars like Philip Michael Thomas, and engaged in diva-like behavior that strained professional relationships. His personal life was scandal-laden, 2 tumultuous marriages, to Melanie Griffith high-profile relationships with Barbra Streisand, and a widely reported teenage affair with his acting teacher made him tabloid fodder. His children, including Dakota Johnson, have described his emotional distance and struggles to connect. Johnson also battled substance abuse, and faced investigations for alleged financial misconduct involving offshore accounts, though no charges were filed. As of 2025, he is alive at age 75, residing in California, continuing to act and produce. His net worth is estimated at $50 million accumulated through a combination of real estate music royalties and residuals from Miami Vice and projects like Knives Out. Johnson's life remains a striking study and contrasts an icon of style and charisma, whose public persona belied the instability controversy and personal struggles simmering beneath the surface. John Petito was born on December 29, 1950, and portrayed El Gato in Miami Vice in 1988 at the age of 37. El Gato, flamboyant and ruthless, was a drug lord whose theatricality and menace made him unforgettable, yet behind Petito's intense performances lay a life steeped in private battles and unspoken tragedies. Raised in a strict Catholic household in Philadelphia, Petito endured relentless bullying for his weight and speech impediment, shaping a defensive, combative personality that would both fuel his artistry and torment his personal relationships. Early career opportunities were often sabotaged by his fiery temperament. Though favored by the Coen brothers, he was fired from Homicide Life on the Street after publicly criticizing producers, igniting a bitter industry fallout. Petito gained a reputation for storming off sets mid-scene, refusing blocking instructions, and openly clashing with directors, with rumors of verbal abuse toward crew members and inappropriate behavior leading to a near blacklisting from a major HBO project. Personal life reflected similar turbulence he lived with partner Daryl Armbruster for 16 years, but their relationship was strained by mood swings, health issues, and the pressures of a volatile career. Petito battled multiple myelomas secretly until the final months of his life, refusing to let illness undermine his craft. He passed away on September 1, 2016, in Duarte, California, at age 65. His estate, comprised largely of residuals from over 200 film and television credits, was modest, estimated at around $500,000. Petito's life story is one of juxtaposition, an actor whose talents were undeniable, yet who was perpetually entangled in conflict and personal demons, a man whose brilliance on screen was inseparable from the chaos off it. Philip Michael Thomas was born on May 26, 1949, and played Detective Ricardo Tubbs in Miami Vice in 1984 at the age of 35. Tubbs, the streetwise, calculating ex-NYPD detective from the Bronx, was the emotional anchor to Crockett's reckless charisma, a character whose quiet intensity and moral rigidity brought depth to the neon-soaked chaos of Miami's criminal underworld, captivating audiences with both his sophistication and simmering rage. Thomas's personal life, however, was a storm of ambition, vanity, and scandal that often eclipsed his professional achievements. Raised in San Bernardino by a strict religious mother and an emotionally distant father, he shared a cramped household with 7 half-siblings, forcing him to conceal insecurities behind church theater and gospel choirs, early seeds of both charisma and compulsive self-promotion. His post-Vice years were marred by grandiose but empty promises, notably his repeated declarations to win an EGOT, Emmy, Grammy, Oscar. Tony ambitions that never materialized, despite a handful of minor awards and music releases. Thomas's forays into music ended disastrously, including a psychic hotline endorsement that led to a costly lawsuit, though he did settle for over $2 million, a figure that paled in comparison to the fame he craved. On set, he gained a reputation for being difficult, demanding preferential treatment, and avoiding interviews behaviors that alienated colleagues. His personal life was equally turbulent, fathering 11 children with multiple women, including 5 with ex-wife Cassandra Green, he frequently appeared elusive and disengaged as a parent. The harshest blow to his ego and career was the gradual erosion of his superstar status, leaving him as a cultural footnote rather than the icon he envisioned. Now, 76, Thomas lives quietly, his net worth estimated at around $2.5 million. A man whose ambition burned brighter than his legacy and whose life off-screen reveals a complex mixture of charm, hubris, and unmet desire, a cautionary tale of celebrity's fragility when coupled with unchecked self-belief. Olivia Brown was born circa 1956 and played Detective Trudy Joplin in Miami Vice in 1984 at age 28. Trudy, the enigmatic, fierce, and sensuous detective, was nicknamed Big Booty Trudy, a playful label that underscored her charisma, but belied her layered, often underestimated intelligence, bringing depth to a role that could have been mere decorative spectacle. Brown's life off-screen was marked by complexity displacement and a relentless negotiation between ambition and personal compromise. Born in Frankfurt, West Germany, and raised in Sacramento, California, she endured a childhood punctuated by emotional detachment and a sense of impermanence, shaping a private, introspective personality beneath her confident exterior. Opting to stay near family, she turned down a Parsons School of Design scholarship, a sacrifice that would haunt her as opportunities slipped by. Her career initially promised visibility through roles in films like 48 Teutschers and Streets of Fire, but Miami Vice, while catapulting her to recognition, also boxed her into a recurring archetype that limited subsequent offers. Her personal life was fraught with volatility. A brief marriage to actor Mykelti Williamson ended bitterly amid allegations of infidelity and emotional abuse, while her later marriage to James Okonkwo and the birth of 2 children offered stability, yet she remained intensely private. Professionally, her most painful setback was the abrupt termination of her recurring role on Dear John, a role she had counted on as a potential second breakthrough. Over the years, she continued with sporadic guest appearances, never again achieving lead status, highlighting the unforgiving nature of Hollywood's treatment of women past their early 30s. Now in her late 60s, Brown lives a quiet life, removed from the glare of fame with a net worth estimated at under $1 million, possessing modest assets, but carrying the shadow of unrealized potential. Her story embodies the dichotomy of celebrity allure and personal sacrifice, a life that dazzled briefly on screen, yet walked in the shadows of what might have been, leaving a legacy of enigmatic talent and private resilience. Saundra Santiago was born on April 13, 1957, and portrayed Detective Gina Calabresi in Miami Vice in 1984 at age 27. Gina, the fiery, seductive Latina detective, blended sensuality with intelligence and emotional nuance, standing out as one of the first compelling female figures in 1980s crime television who could navigate both romantic tension and professional authority, leaving audiences enthralled with her strength and vulnerability. Santiago's personal life, however, was a quiet battlefield of trauma and constrained opportunity. Born to a Cuban father and Puerto Rican mother in the Bronx, she grew up in a violent, impoverished neighborhood, witnessing the harsh realities of street life at an early age. Her family relocated to Florida when she was 13, but the psychological scars of displacement and instability lingered. Professionally, despite the breakout success of Miami Vice, she faced typecasting and was often pigeonholed into secondary roles or guest appearances on soap operas, struggling to escape the TV face label that limited her cinematic opportunities. Her marriage to jazz musician Roger Squatero was reportedly emotionally distant and childless, reflecting a pattern of isolation and unfulfilled intimacy. Santiago's greatest career disappointment was repeatedly being passed over for major film projects despite Emmy nominations and respected recurring roles on The Sopranos and Law and Order, leading to periods of disillusionment with Hollywood's fickle dynamics. These pressures, combined with the lingering weight of a tumultuous upbringing, created a sense of quiet resilience, rather than flamboyant notoriety. Now 68, she continues to act sporadically, maintaining a net worth of approximately $1 million, a reflection of both careful financial management and the hard-won respect of peers, embodying the life of a survivor who quietly endures the unforgiving currents of fame and age in an industry that rarely forgives either. Tony Hendra was born on July 10, 1941, and played Gordon Wiggins in 1987 at age 46. His character, a sleazy, manipulative record executive, was a darkly comic reflection of the cutthroat music industry, and Hendra's portrayal was deeply informed by his own experiences navigating a world of ambition, betrayal, and scandal. Educated at Cambridge, he became a key figure in National Lampoon and Spitting Image, but his intelligence and wit were consistently shadowed by erratic behavior, creative clashes, and personal controversy. Hendra's career suffered multiple public and private blows with collaborators, often citing his arrogance, mood swings, and manipulative tendencies as reasons for dismissal. But the most devastating came in 2004, when his daughter publicly accused him of sexual abuse, a claim he vehemently denied, but which nonetheless ignited a media storm permanently damaging his reputation. His personal life was fraught: a bitter divorce, estranged children, and a second marriage, clouded by the lingering effects of past controversies, painted a picture of a man whose private world was as chaotic as his public persona was brilliant. Despite these difficulties, he continued to work sporadically with residuals, royalties, and book deals, providing modest financial security. Hendra battled ALS in his later years, succumbing to the disease on March 4, 2021, in Yonkers, New York, at age 79, leaving an estate valued at around $1 million. His legacy is a cautionary tale of genius intertwined with scandal, illustrating how immense talent can be overshadowed by controversy and personal failings. Hendra's life, a mixture of satire, dark humor, and painful private episodes, serves as a reminder of the precarious balance between brilliance and self-destruction, leaving behind a complex, compelling, and often uncomfortable story that continues to provoke discussion long after his death. Michael Talbott was born on 02/2022/1955 and played Detective Stan Switek in 1984 at age 29. Switek, the Vice Squad's electronics and surveillance specialist, was often comic relief, yet the later seasons revealed a gambling addiction and an emotional vulnerability that gave the character a darker, more human edge, resonating with viewers as someone who balanced humor with personal struggle. Talbott's off-screen life mirrored this complexity. Raised in Waverly, Iowa, he experienced a childhood of emotional neglect and a father who openly disapproved of his acting ambitions, creating a persistent tension that fueled both his drive and insecurities. As a young actor, he landed roles in films like Carrie and First Blood, yet he was constantly typecast as brutish, volatile characters, reinforcing Hollywood's perception of him as difficult. His career took a sharp downturn after being dropped from a major network pilot due to alleged unprofessional behavior and ongoing clashes with producers, marking his most significant professional failure. Behind the scenes, Talbott was known for his outspoken NRA advocacy, which led to professional isolation, and reportedly alienated colleagues, effectively blacklisting him from several opportunities. Personal life offered no sanctuary. He never married, reportedly struggled with depression and battled weight issues, while the death of his mother in 1987 left him profoundly affected, inspiring a Miami Vice episode dedication. Despite these struggles, Talbott maintained a quiet career working sporadically in firearms training and consulting, supplemented by residuals from his acting. His net worth is estimated at $850,000, largely derived from property and past royalties. Sweetek remains a cult favorite, emblematic of Talbott's nuanced talent and personal battles. A man who navigated Hollywood's undercurrents with resilience and whose off-screen challenges deepened the authenticity he brought to his memorable portrayal. The hidden layers of his life estrangement, professional disappointment, public controversy, and personal vulnerability echo in every scene of his character, making him one of the most intriguing and tragic figures behind the iconic neon veneer of Miami Vice. John Diehl was born on 5 1950 and played Detective Larry Zito in 1984 at age 34. Zito, the affable Hawaiian shirt-wearing partner of Sweetek, blended humor with grit, serving as the audience's surrogate for the shocking underworld of Miami crime until his sudden and dramatic death in Season 3 stunned viewers and underscored the show's willingness to shatter expectations. Diehl's departure from Miami Vice reflected both creative frustration and a desire for artistic integrity, as he demanded a definitive exit for his character rather than remaining in a stagnant arc. Raised in a strict Catholic household in Cincinnati, Diehl rebelled early, living as a squatter in Amsterdam and immersing himself in New York's avant-garde theater scene, including work with Sam Shepard's Padua Hills Playwrights Festival. His post-Miami Vice career emphasized serious art over commercial success, resulting in financial instability and periods of austere living, including a basement apartment in New York, yet earning him lasting respect among indie theater and film circles. He gained a reputation for being uncompromising, often difficult to cast in mainstream productions, yet this same trait reinforced his status as an artist devoted to craft over fame. Personal challenges included a marriage to singer Julie Christensen and a son who struggled with substance abuse issues Diehl kept private, as well as professional boxing injuries that impacted his health. In 2022, he relocated to New Mexico to seek solace and creative freedom, continuing work in independent film and theater. Now, 75 Diehl has a net worth of approximately $1.1 million, modest but indicative of a life committed to authenticity and artistic risk. Zito's death not only marked a pivotal narrative moment in Miami Vice, but also symbolized Diehl's own philosophy of valuing truth and personal expression over commercial reward, living a life where professional sacrifice, artistic integrity, and private struggle intertwined inextricably, leaving behind a legacy of uncompromising commitment to character and craft. Edward James Olmos was born on 24/02, 1947, and portrayed Lieutenant Martin Castillo in 1984 at age 37. Castillo, the disciplined and morally unwavering commander of the Vice Squad, stood as a counterpoint to the flashy, crime-ridden Miami streets, his stoic intensity and ethical rigor captivating both his colleagues and the audience. Olmos's personal history was equally intense and marked by adversity. Born in East Los Angeles to a fractured household, he was raised by his great-grandparents, while his parents juggled multiple low-paying jobs, embedding in him a deep understanding of socioeconomic struggle and systemic inequity. A promising baseball career ended abruptly due to a knee injury forcing him into music, before ultimately embracing acting, fronting a psychedelic rock band, and then immersing himself in theater. His career achievements, including Zoot Suite and Stand and Deliver, were often overshadowed by controversy, particularly with American Me, 1992, his directorial effort exposing prison life and gang violence, which triggered death threats and accusations that he exploited Latino suffering for recognition a charge he rejected vehemently. Olmos's personal life was equally tumultuous. He endured 3 marriages, including a bitter divorce from Lorraine Bracco, experienced estrangement from some of his 6 children, and was arrested in 2001 for civil disobedience against U.S. military bombings in Puerto Rico, serving 20 days in jail. Health issues added further trials, including a throat cancer battle in 2023. Today, Olmos is 78, living in Los Angeles, remaining active in activism, film, and television, with a net worth estimated at $14 million, derived from acting, directing, producing voice work, and property. Castillo remains Olmos' most defining role, reflecting both the disciplined, principled nature of the character and the turbulence, moral conviction, and resilience that have defined Olmos' own life, a testament to a career and personal journey in which risk, integrity, and survival were intertwined with public acclaim and private adversity. Thank you for joining us on this nostalgic journey through classic television history. If you enjoyed learning about the cast of Miami Vice and where they are now, don't forget to give this video a thumbs up, subscribe for more vintage Hollywood retrospectives, and share your thoughts in the comments below. We love hearing your memories and suggestions, so let us know which TV show or movie cast you'd like us to feature next.